Thought I'd make a little video here about the retrocausal capstone event. Retrocausal means that something in the future affects something in the past, and the way that we traditionally think of timeline is that something that happens here in the present can only affect things in the future. It cannot affect things in the past. My understanding of this has expanded when I wrapped my mind around how the great revelation will transform the past 5 years of my videos from worthless trash that was received like pearls to swine to priceless jewels of knowledge, when it becomes self-evident, when everyone around us knows about the plasma fire, the airborne aircraft carrier. They can see it for themselves. The sun tunnel, the black dot craft, the triangle craft that were all over the airborne aircraft carrier, and that you could see in the sun tunnel video, which means the triangle craft are associated with the sun tunnel, and the triangle craft are associated with the airborne aircraft carrier. Cities of Elysium, you might think of them. Cities in the sky, floating fortresses. In the sun tunnel video, in the still frames, you can see one of those circles with a triangle in the middle, meaning those triangle craft go through that sun tunnel. In the airborne aircraft carrier video, still frames that I ran the contrast on, you can see those triangular craft parked 2 by 2 by 2, and many of them at the ends of runways. So the triangle craft are associated with the airborne aircraft carrier and the sun tunnel. And when it is brought to people's attention, they know about plasma fire just as well as you do. And they know about the sun tunnel, and they know about the airborne aircraft carrier because they can see them with their own eyes. They don't need to be convinced or persuaded of anything. This is the great revelation. The catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor, as was spoken of in the Project for a New American Century, and when that catalyzing event happened, it took that document called the Project for a New American Century and turned it from a theoretical, hypothetical, wet dream of the neocons into a practical application document that became the schematics and the blueprint of the actual program that was implemented thereafter. I'm not gonna explain what I mean by a catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor and what the Project for a New American Century was. For those that are here on this channel that have followed me over from Jeff Snyder too, I'm going to speak to you as if you were people who had been watching the whole time. So, that capstone crescendo, which will be a catalyzing event, is also retrocausal. It's something that happens in the future, the great revelation where the public is made aware of the sun tunnel, the airborne aircraft carrier, the black dot craft, the triangle craft, the plasma fire, intelligently controlled clouds, the portal in the cathedral, and microchipped population. When the public is made aware of this, scratch everything on that checklist of line items except plasma fire. Just try to wrap your mind around a world where everyone knows about plasma fire. That when they watch my videos, they are not questioning and doubting and trying to explain it away from some way within the known bookends of their reality. Plasma fire is now part of their known reality. In that world where everyone knows about plasma fire because they've been force-fed the truth, they look at my videos about plasma fire very differently. Within a different context, they have a different meaning. You can wrap your mind around that world because you know plasma fire is as real as anything you've ever laid eyes on. The only reason you can't is because of the level of censorship that exists within our world. You done that? Wrapped your mind around that? Imagine a world where everyone knows about plasma fire, and the context within that context, they would look at my videos and see them very differently than they do right now within this world, where they start questioning what they're seeing and trying to explain it away, and their cognitive dissonance and denial kicks in. After this great revelation, when they've seen the sun tunnel with their own eyes, when they've seen these airborne aircraft carriers with their own eyes, when they've seen these triangle craft and these black dot craft and these plasma fires, they will look at my videos and recognize this guy was contacted by a Type 1 civilization of a higher intelligence than any of us here on planet Earth. Which is harder to wrap your mind around? The idea that someone would be contacted and communicated through in the way that I have been, or the idea that your whole fucking world could be burning up from the inside out and no one around you can see it. Prior to 5 years ago, the latter would have been harder to conceive. You can conceive of someone in tribal Africa being communicated to by more advanced Western civilizations. And you can also conceive, I hate these dogs. You can also conceive of someone on our planet being communicated to by someone from a higher intelligence civilization. Prior to 5 years ago, you could not conceive of a scenario where everything around you was burning up from the inside and no one around you noticed it. That was beyond your scope of comprehension. That was a scenario that you were sure could never possibly happen, because the people around you are just as aware as you are, and someone would notice, and as soon as they did, everyone else would take notice. The scenario where the whole world is burning up around you from the inside out and no one notices was inconceivable to you 5 years ago. Which is harder to wrap your mind around and conceive of? That someone would be communicated with from a society of a higher intelligence and used as an ambassador, as an intermediary, or that your whole world could be burning up around you from the inside out and no one notices? Pretty obvious which one's a little harder to wrap your mind around, and that's the one that you can see happening all around you. Prior to the documentation of it, you could never have even conceived of such a scenario, the likes of which has been happening for the past 5 years, where your whole world is burning up from the inside out and no one around you notices. So after this revelation, where the public, the general public, is just as aware of plasma fire as you are, and sun tunnel, and airborne aircraft carrier, and black dot craft, and triangle craft, intelligently controlled clouds, plasma fire, portal in the cathedral, and microchipped population. In the context of knowing all of that to the same degree that you do and even more, they will look at my videos from that context, from within that scenario, from within that world where they all know that it's all true. There is no more room for negotiation or denial or cognitive dissonance. They are force-fed the truth. In that world, after they've been forced to reconcile with the truth, they look back at my videos and recognize, holy shit, this guy was contacted by them, the same people that are on those airborne aircraft carriers with those triangular craft part 2x2, the same people that come through that sun tunnel with that triangular craft. By the way, before I forget, a video linked in the description by something underbelly, suspicious underbelly, shady underbelly 2.0, shows a triangle craft hovering over Salt Lake City in September of this year is when the video was taken. He films it for like 5 minutes. You guys have all seen those triangular craft. Soon the public will see them and be forced to recognize them. Before I forget, also, the public in this scenario that I'm describing will recognize that those muse messages, the information embedded within the music that conveys understanding, has a plot line, a subplot, like 21 Pilots' Jumpsuit. It starts out saying, "We've been here the whole time. You were asleep. It's time to wake up." And then it proceeds with the rest of the song that has nothing to do with that intro. That's very blatant and in your face, and it's not subtle. It doesn't take a soothsayer or a crystal ball reader to hear what he just said. We've been here the whole time. You were asleep. It's time to wake up. In the context of the world that I'm describing, after this retrocausal crescendo capstone event that is a catalyst that transforms the past 5 years of my videos from worthless trash that were received like pearls to swine to priceless jewels of knowledge and self-evident truth that this guy's been contacted by they who have now revealed themselves. In that aftermath, they will show you for themselves. And my 5 years of video will be received in a very different way. Not only that list of line items that I constantly recite that I have already twice in this video, but all the other things that I said will be listened to very differently. Even my strongest supporters to this day will hear the information in those videos very differently than they are even capable of, than it is even possible to right now in this world. Prior to that capstone crescendo catalyst that is a retrocausal event, that thing that happens in the future, that great revelation, will change the past 5 years of videos to affect the present moment in a way that those past 5 years cannot affect the present moment unless and until that future experience changes those past 5 videos from worthless trash that were received like pearls to swine to priceless jewels of knowledge that are the basis and the foundation of your self-image and worldview from that point forward. The plasma fire has proven that people are comfort junkies. They don't want the truth, they want their comfort. And when it's a priority between your very existence and your comfort zone, they prioritize their comfort zone. In the face of the 10 trillion pound elephant in the room, they turn a blind eye and look the other direction because it's more comfortable and convenient for them to avert their gaze and focus their attention on something else, even in the face of an existential threat, something which threatens your very existence. They turn their attention towards something else. I'm referring to the plasma fire, that which will kill each and every one of you. Say it ain't so. Tell me how that ain't true. In the face of an existential threat, people turn their back on themselves, on each and every one of their personal friends and family, and on humanity as a whole when they focus their attention on something else. You've heard that saying, that those who know will be judged more harshly than those who never knew and never had a chance? Those who watched my videos, their fate is sealed because they acted absolutely no differently than the other billions of people that don't know the world around them is burning from the inside out. Everyone is a comfort junkie, like a fucking heroin junkie whose soul has been hollowed out. Every fiber of their being and their character has been replaced by the pursuit of comfort as their one and only priority. And the heroin junkie will lie, cheat, and steal every characteristic of quality and virtues and morals and ethics that they may have once had is long gone. And the only thing that matters to them is getting that next hit of heroin, seeking that comfort. And everyone around us is just the same, just as bad as a fucking heroin junkie. When it comes to maintaining their comfort, they will do anything. They will let everyone die, as long as it keeps me comfortable. And when this revelation happens, they will be forced out of their comfort zone. And there will be no more hassle-free zone of collective consensus reality. So I don't want to see anything that everyone else can't see, like plasma fire, because then I'm the crazy one. Guess what? I'm crazy by definition. I see things that everyone else can't see, like the world around us burning up from the inside out. And that makes me crazy by definition. If you ask all of those other people while I'm seeing what I'm seeing and describing it and pointing it out, and none of them can see it, they will all agree, that guy's crazy. We are the sane ones, because he sees something that we don't. Therefore, he's crazy. And the reason people choose not to see the reality around us is to maintain their good standing membership within that hassle-free zone, to maintain their comfort zone. And when given the choice between facing an existential threat that looks you right in the eye, or turning a blind eye and looking the other direction to maintain your comfort, even though it's going to cost you your very existence and the existence of every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth, everybody turns a blind eye. It is a greater priority to them to maintain their comfort zone, and they are willing to sacrifice their very existence, just like a heroin junkie who is willing to die seeking that next hit of dope. Each and every one of you are comfort junkies. You've been proven. You've sealed your fate. Those who didn't watch this channel have a better chance and will fare better than those who did and acted the same exact way as those who never knew. In a world where a just God hands out consequences according to your actions, how could it not be that way? How could it be anything but? That the consequences for those who watched this channel and did absolutely nothing different than those who didn't watch this channel, they will experience consequences accordingly. So, the people have shown that they are not even alive, and therefore extinguishing and exterminating them will be a mercy killing, because they are not even conscious or free to think what they want to think and believe what they want to believe and know what they choose to know. They are all programmed computers. None of them are self-programming and self-aware like what you think of as AI. They are all responding exactly the same to this existential threat. And if they were free to think what they want to think, they were alive, you know, like Johnny 5, I'm alive. If these biobot transceivers were alive, some of them would choose to prioritize that existential threat that's going to kill each and every one of you. Yeah, it might raise and register a little bit higher on their list of priorities on some that are actually alive, self-aware. But all of these guys, their self-preservation instinct is overridden by their comfort preservation instinct. And they are more interested in maintaining their comfort than their very existence. How can you not see them as unfit to survive when they are like junkies programmed for that next hit of comfort and willing to sacrifice everything in the process? So maybe those of you that have come in contact with this truth but done nothing with it, acted as if it didn't happen, acted as if it's not real, behaved exactly the same as everyone else who has not seen this truth, behaved exactly the same as you had prior to coming into contact with this truth, maybe you will be given an opportunity to do something worthwhile when this capstone, crescendo, retrocausal catalyst of a revelation happens. The public is force-fed the truth that you're already aware of. And at that time, the public will recognize the softer, gentler, easier way had been tried. Contemplate for a minute the idea that all of those plasma fires were actually intentional. And just like EBT said, well, what am I shilling for a big fence post? How can these be directed energy when most of them hit random fences and farms? Truth is, most of them that I recorded hit roadside. Not some back road, main thoroughfares where semi-trucks travel, where they got a lot of exposure and a lot of traffic passing by them all day, every day. The general public will recognize that their attention was attempted to be gotten, and a couple slaps across the face was not going to be enough. They were far too gone into their trance, into their mind control, into their hypnosis. And their whole world had to be rocked through a shock and awe campaign that stopped them dead in their tracks, did not allow them to go to work the next day and do what they always do and pretend as if nothing's happening. Because that's what they've been doing for the last 5 years, as the world around them burns from the inside out. My 5 years of video will show them that it was happening all around you. Every of the 9 states that I've filmed this in has at least 10,000 examples. Some of those individual examples include millions of trees. Yet the public was so entranced, they continued going about their business as if nothing's happening. Blissfully unaware. Ignorance is bliss, and they ignored it to maintain their bliss and their comfort. And thus, when the shock and awe campaign kicks off, and the truth is force-fed and shoved down their throat, they will be able to see, from my 5 years, that the softer, gentler, easier way was not possible. It had been tried millions of times, all around them. And they were so deeply entranced, so dedicated to maintaining that blissful ignorance, that it had to be the shock and awe. There wasn't a softer, easier, gentler way that was going to get their attention. Proven by the millions of attempts that have already been made, that were happening all around them, that none of them could see. And when they come right out in the open and reveal themselves to the general public, whose attention they've been attempting to get for years now, it will make the muse messages self-evident truth. And people will recognize that there are powers, forces that be, a higher power, if you will, trying to get their attention through those muse messages. We've been here the whole time. You were asleep. It's time to wake up. Most of the other messages are very subtle and nuanced and require interpretation. So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow, if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow, but if the offer is shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun. I've been working on a jailbreak. Come on, baby, take a chance with us and meet me on the back of the blue bus, or it hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. Can you picture what will be So limitless and free, desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? The general public will be force-fed the truth about all of the attempts that have been being made to get their attention for generations and decades through that music. And when they see that, they will recognize that this force behind all these messages that's been embedded in this music is trying to enlighten us and wake us up, make us more aware of the true nature of our existence. And that this revelation that's coming, it was always going to be that way. They who planted those muse messages were leading up to this the whole time. This isn't something that, contingency plan B. No, this is the way it was going to be the whole time. That's why all of those messages are planted in all of that music. And people will be able to see this, that, whoever planted all those messages in that music, it's like they were planning for this filtration of the consciousness on the consciousness farm, for this awakening crescendo. And the institutions that currently exist all around us, including your church, are trying to keep you in the dark, to maintain a grip over your heart and mind, in order to control you, in order to enslave you. Your current slave master is keeping you in the dark. They're not telling you anything about plasma fire and showing you, fuck what you heard, believe what you see, the world burning up all around you. Shh, they're keeping you in the dark. And that will make it self-evident that the new arrivals are here to set you free. And that the people that you're currently existing under are keeping you enslaved. But there will still be people who say, I'm going to die for what I believe in. Love me some church. Love me some Jesus. Everything you believe in has been fed to you by the slave master whose plantation you are on, who is keeping you in the dark. All of those institutions, presidents, prime ministers, the media, institutions of higher education, the police department, the fire department, and your church, all keeping you in the dark. They, the new arrivals, who are working on this jailbreak, have obviously been trying to get you to wake up. Wake up! We're leaving all the haters behind before the sun decides to hide. I know you think I may be out of line. That's the song Wake Up by AWOL Nation. It will become very self-evident. The past 5 years of my work will be transformed by this catalyst and be seen within this context of this new reality very differently than they even possibly can be seen right now. After this catalyst, in the future, it will change those past 5 years of videos leading up till now, which will change the way that they are perceived and received in the present moment by anyone that watches them. Thus, it's kind of pointless for me to make any more videos when I know that people will be a lot more receptive in the near future. There will be no more denial. There will be no more room for negotiation. Their freedom to believe what they want to believe and know what they want to know will be taken from them. But they will know it had to be that way. Your world had to be rocked so fucking hard through a shock and awe campaign because you were so deeply entranced, mesmerized, hypnotized, and addicted to that comfort zone that we had to fucking throw you right out of your comfort zone in order to give you the opportunity to have a chance to think for yourself, to make this choice. Come on, baby, take a chance with us. Or it hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. So, for the old timers, the old guard of Snyder University, the seniors, think of those videos that you've watched being watched by people in a world where they were shown the truth about plasma fire. And thus, there is no room for debate or negotiation or denial. Imagine a world in which they see the truth about the sun tunnel, which got my channel wiped out. When it comes to plasma fire, you can say, well, the government and all those institutions are just being quiet about that because they don't want people to panic, because the panic would do more damage. You can't say the same about the sun tunnel. They are just keeping you in the dark about the nature of your existence when it comes to the sun tunnel. Oh, we just didn't want anyone to panic, so we kept them in the dark about the fact that that is a doorway and a portal in and out of this world, and we wiped all your videos out to keep them in the dark so that they wouldn't panic. When those videos are restored, which has already been a precedent set for that, at the beginning of the CV19, there was a change in the algorithm. A lot of people noticed it and said, wow, I'm getting views and my stuff's being put into people's feed and I'm not getting censored anymore. Something changed. A lot of the truthers noticed it in 2019, at the beginning of the C19. And some people said, yeah, they want to hear us. They're letting us talk now and they're loosening the grip of the algorithm on us just because they want us to start talking. Whatever it was, a lot of people noticed it. At that time, they restored 100 of my videos. March 16th, 2018 is when I filmed the sun tunnel. And they erased my whole page, all 555 subscribers and hundreds of videos that I had taken up till that point. Disappeared that day. They locked my channel, said you're in violation of community guideline standards. The next day, they unlocked my channel, sent me an email saying, we apologize that after review, you're not in violation of any community guideline standards. And there wasn't a single video on there. There wasn't a single subscriber. They wiped my channel because I filmed the sun tunnel. I hate these guys. Fuck, man. That is proof that they are keeping you in the dark. My point is, from March 16th, when they wiped my whole channel, from that point forward, they were erasing a couple weeks worth of videos every couple weeks. I would scroll to the bottom of my channel and look at my original video. Actually, back then, you could just flip it over. There was a button you could push, sort videos by oldest first. So it would flip the list over and show you what's on the very bottom of your channel. And every couple weeks, they had removed a couple more weeks worth of videos. By the time C19 hit, they restored all those videos going back to March 16th. So, from March 16th until the C19 hit, they were erasing, and they didn't send me a email saying this video's been removed, that video's been removed. They were just wiping my channel out from the bottom up. Every couple weeks, they'd remove a couple weeks worth of videos. When the C19 hit, all of those videos reappeared. There was a time at which all of my Missouri trip videos were gone as a result of this process that I'm explaining, where they would erase it from the bottom up. And then when C19 hit, all of those videos reappeared right back to March 16th, which was the day that they erased my whole channel because of the sun tunnel. And there will come a day when all of those videos reappear from March 16th, going back the previous 8 months. Those videos are not gone any more than the other videos were gone that reappeared. They've just been delisted. And when they wipe my channel, in the name of national security, there is no chance they didn't download copies elsewhere. They emptied the whole cache of data from my account, gave it back to me empty. Those videos will be restored, just as the others have. Consider the possibility of, when you think of my videos, for those, the old guard that know plasma fire's as real as can be, but it doesn't seem real because it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, I know some of you have commented in the comment section, I saw hundreds of miles of those plasma burned trees today when I was driving from here to there. But it still seems like it's unreal because it makes no difference because everyone else doesn't know. Therefore, it doesn't make a difference in our world, so it's like it's not real. There's coming a day when they're all going to know in a way that exceeds their capacity for denial and self-deception. Shakes them out of their comfort zone, rocks their world so fucking hard. There is no room for negotiation. There is no room for denial. And in that day, my videos will be perceived very differently. Until then, the latest messages from the, incoming message from the big giant head is just to maintain course, direction, and momentum. The momentum has already been built from those 5 years worth of videos. All I have to do is wait for that catalyzing crescendo event that will be retrocausal and turn that past 5 years worth of work from worthless trash that was received by the people like pearls to swine into priceless jewels of knowledge. And at that point, I will then be a prime candidate for them to funnel a lot more information through me. As I've told you, phase 2 of this ambassadorship is coming up. Up until then, I've been trying to introduce you to some beings that you can't see. After that point, you will see them. And I will have established a 5-year resume that develops credibility with the general people who will see that I'm not one of them trying to pull a psyop on you. I'm just an ordinary, average, everyday guy who had extraordinary experiences, extraordinary opportunities, and took advantage of them in ways that others could not or would not. Do for others what they cannot do for themselves has been one of my principles that I live my life by. And in this way, I am doing for others what they cannot do for themselves, introducing them to their new world. They will be broken down and then built back up, as is part of any initiation ritual. Just like they do in the military, it's called boot camp. In sororities and fraternities, it's called hazing the pledges, the new pledges, during Hell Week, where they break you down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in order to build you back up. In a street gang, they beat you in if you're a man or sex you in if you're a woman. It's part of an initiation process. We are all going through this collective initiation, and the general public is going to be broken down the hard way, hard and fast. At that point, they will be able to look toward my 5 years of work that I've put in and use that for their process of building back up. This is a line that's used in 2 different Imagine Dragons songs. You break me down, you build me up, believer. I'm a believer. Break me down, build me back up, and do whatever it takes. Those are 2 different songs of theirs that use that same lyric. At this time, when they go full disclosure, that's also when Operation Blue Beam kicks off. The same forces that have been keeping you in the dark about the nature of your existence have opposing forces that have been dropping those messages in the music for you, leading up to this awakening process. There is clearly 2 different forces at work. The force that's trying to enlighten you, to free your mind, and the force that's trying to keep you enslaved and in the dark, to keep a grip over your heart and mind by disallowing you from knowing the truth about your existence. And on that day, when full and open disclosure happens, the slave master that's currently running the plantation will come out in the open with full and open tyranny, throwing you on trains, taking you to the camps kind of shit. And they will engage in false flags where they create destruction and death and say, look, they did it. The newcomers, the ones that have just revealed themselves to you, yeah, they're the ones that killed all those people over there. Except they won't have the ability to broadcast this through mass communications, which is how they engage in the mind control. And because it will bring the whole world to a grinding halt, and everyone will be required to stop what you're doing, get down upon your knees. I have a message for you that you better believe. That's Missionary Man by the Eurythmics. And on the cover of Missionary Man, Annie Lennox has a vertical slit pupil, right next to the guy of the band that has a round human pupil. Like I said, everything else I've said in those videos will suddenly be taken in a very different context when the list of line items that I go over all the time is shown to be self-evidently true. The sun tunnel, the airborne aircraft carriers with the triangular craft all over them, the sun tunnel with the triangular craft that go through it, the black dot craft, the plasma fires, intelligently controlled clouds, portal in the cathedral, microchipped population. When those list of line items are proven, there is no more room for discussion or debate. Everyone knows they're real. That's when they'll look at some of the other things that I said, like remove the beam from your own eye, and only then will you be able to see clearly to remove the mote from your brother's. The beam is a vertical slit pupil. The mote is a round human pupil, circle within a circle. And take heed of the warning that I gave them when I said they will see it in the others, but not in themselves. That is the meaning of the parable of the beam and the mote. That you can see it in someone else, you can't see it in yourself. And it's referring to a vertical slit pupil and a mote. Otherwise, you can believe the traditional interpretation of that, of a 4x4 sticking out of a guy's face, which there are plenty of paintings and murals and sculptures that show a guy with a 4x4 sticking out of his face. Sorry, I'm distracted by the dog, but fuck him. You can believe what the slave master of this plantation has implanted in your mind and continue believing that that parable is referring to a 4x4 sticking out of someone's face. Yeah, that's the beam in your eye. It's like they're mocking you with those paintings and murals and sculptures of a guy with a 4x4 sticking out of his face. Or the beam refers to a vertical slit pupil, and the mote a human pupil. Those other things that I said during those videos will be received in a different context and be given credibility the likes of which it is impossible for them to have at this point. Truth goes up in vapors, steeples lean. Winds of change, patriarchs, snug in your Bible Belt dreams. God goes up the chimney like childhood Santa Claus. The good slaves love the good book. A rebel loves a cause. That's called Don't Interrupt the Sorrow by Joni Mitchell. And when people recognize that there have been narratives and storylines and plot lines embedded within all of this music, it's not just meaningless, nebulous, weird-sounding words, but there is a whole body of information that's been embedded within all of that music. They will also be able to see that it's always been leading up to this. This isn't a plan B contingency plan. This isn't a tangent that our reality took, diverting onto some course that it wasn't supposed to be on. This is what it was always leading up to. This cultivation of consciousness on the consciousness farm and this filtration process, it's always been leading up to this. And the current slave masters know that. That's why they've programmed you with the very things that you're going to see, so that when you see them, you'll say, oh, see, he was right. It's like Jim Jones telling his People's Temple followers, the FBI is going to come. I've been told by the great mothership in the sky, the incoming message from the big giant head, the FBI is going to invade, and they're going to raid, and they're going to tell you that you've been enslaved and misled and brainwashed. And when they do, that proves that I'm actually led by the Holy Spirit, and the great, mothership and the big giant head is real, and that you should continue to believe me. And that the general public has been programmed for what they are going to see and to rebel and retaliate against God. Those who will choose to die for what they believe in are so far gone, they are irredeemable. They cannot be salvaged. They are broken beyond repair. And there will be many of them. Most of them. But some of you will be able to see how broken they truly are. They couldn't see the fucking world around them burning up from the inside out. And when the truth revealed itself to them through experience, they chose to stick with their preconceived ideas rather than discarding old ideas with new, which is what the process of learning is all about. And one of the things that I've said in those past videos that will be taken, differently within this context is that no one gets on board thinking they know something. Be like unto a child, curious about everything, certain about nothing. And when you're shown that you don't know shit, you didn't even know the world was burning from the inside around you from the inside. Yet you're going to stick to these notions and concepts and ideas that were given to you by the very slave master who has proven themselves, those institutions who have proven themselves to be working against you, to keep you in the dark, to keep you enslaved. They're the ones that gave you that book. They're the ones that gave you those ideas. Yet, in the light of all of this evidence that proves, once you see the sun tunnel, and that they erased my videos of the sun tunnel, that's proof. They didn't want you knowing about the sun tunnel and that they knew about it. That proof that they keep you in the dark should be enough for a person who is still functioning to relinquish any preconceived ideas that they gave you with that book they handed out called the Bible. The same people that kept you in the dark about the sun tunnel and the plasma fire told you those ideas you have. When it is proven, and everyone is given the evidence, force-fed the truth. Airborne aircraft carriers, they were keeping silent about that. Sun tunnel, they were keeping quiet about that. Plasma fire, they were keeping quiet about that. Yet you're still going to cling to those preconceived ideas they gave you about who the good guys and who the bad guys are when we see what we see in the sky? You're beyond repair. But they will be given an opportunity to show their true colors, and everyone else is going to have to go through this too. Which brings me to a point about a dog that's barking. On the idea that everyone's going to have to go through this initiation process where it breaks you down, your self-image and your worldview get dismantled, disintegrated, and dissolved. And you have to start from the ground up, break you down, then build you up, believer. Break you down, build you back up, and do whatever it takes. I said a bunch of times on my way to Missouri, everyone's going to have to go through this. Everyone's getting a chance to show their true colors. And everyone will have to go through the same process of being broken down, your whole worldview dismantled as part of this collective initiation. The guy at work, number 3 in command, he's only been there about a year, but I would say he's number 3 in the chain of command, tells me the other day that he's got a son who's 36. He asked me, "You ever dealt with anyone that's schizophrenic?" I said, "Yeah, my ex-girlfriend." "No, really schizophrenic?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." He's like, "Man, because my son, he is and this and that, and it was only during a 5-minute truck ride from one job site to the other that he divulges all this information to me. It's almost like it was a cry for help." Where he tells me about his son, who hears voices and swears he's under some sort of military government mind control. I keep thinking I look like I got these white things in my eye, but I think maybe it's just on the screen. So it sounds like his son, it's the end of the world as he knows it. It's the end of the world as he always has known it. He said about a year and a half ago, I said, "Well, what happened a year and a half ago?" He says, "Oh, drugs or something like that." That might just be an easy dismissal. Drugs, schizophrenia. A way for you to fit it in between your known bookends of reality and describe and define and understand what he's going through. Otherwise, in order to adapt, you would have to accommodate to acknowledge maybe he is under some sort of external influence. And that is what we're all having to go through. It sounds like his son is way ahead of the curve. And I was thinking about even offering my services, letting him know I think I can help your son through his process to readjust, to reorient him to the world as he now knows it, since he's been disoriented from the world as he has always known it. Everyone is going to have to go through that. In order to adapt, there are two forms of adaptation: assimilation and accommodation. And there's a third option, disassociation, which is what most people do when it comes to the plasma fire. When you have an experience, you come into contact with information, it either easily assimilates into your worldview between the bookends of your known reality, into the filing cabinet of your mind. You already have a file labeled with something that is close to, gives you a context and a precedent for this experience and this information, so you can slip it right in that file. It assimilates into your worldview easily. That's one way of adapting. The other way is accommodate. When there is no file in your mental filing cabinet, you have no precedent in your worldview, in your world of experience, then you have to accommodate, expand your world of knowledge, create a new file within your mental filing cabinet, and that creates a form of pain and anxiety and anguish and distress. Much like what happens during your teenage years. And we are at childhood's end. There's another Muse message, truth drop. In that series, in that book, they use a regular blue-collar worker like myself to communicate to the people as an ambassador, the word keeps escaping my mind. Anyway, an interim. Liaison. So the two forms of adaptation are assimilation, when something assimilates very, very easily into your known world, and you have a file within your mental filing cabinet, you just slip it right in, it assimilates in order to adapt. The other way to adapt is to accommodate, to expand your worldview when you come into contact with something that doesn't fit anywhere within your known world. But instead of accommodating and expanding your known world, because this information, you can't process it, it doesn't fit anywhere, you don't know what to do with it, so you disassociate. That is another word for schizophrenia. Dissociative identity disorder. That movie, Born Identity, with Matt Damon and Born Supremacy, is based on the dissociative identity disorder that has been studied to the point where they have it down to a science, where they trained this guy as an assassin in one part of his mind, and the other part of his mind didn't even know that he is a trained assassin. This dissociative identity disorder often happens to people who experience high amounts of trauma. Plasma fire is traumatizing enough, most people just disassociate, engage in a schizophrenic response. This is how I could help Jim's boy, is prove to him, you don't need these people's validation. They are the ones with the mental illness. They are the ones who are disassociating. So what happens? The most common form of dissociative identity disorder happens as a result of childhood sexual abuse or rape. Or when someone goes to war, they come back from the battlefield. What they experienced was so traumatizing, it doesn't fit into their known world. They don't know how to process this information, so they compartmentalize their mind. They split their mind into two different parts. And they call those parts alters, and the alter ego is what is accessed by Matt Damon when he switches into his assassin mode. Anyway, the person splits their mind, compartmentalizes that information and that experience that doesn't fit into their world in a filing cabinet all of its own. multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder. They disassociate with that information and that experience like it happened to someone else. Just the same way that people disassociate with plasma fire, act like that's someone else's problem. Act like I ain't got to deal with that. That don't affect me. That happened to someone else. That's in someone else's world. That's how the average person is disassociating from plasma fire. Acting as if that's happening to someone else. Acting as if that's going to affect someone else, not me. Because you're incapable of processing the information because of all the implications that come along with it. The mass amount of plasma fire that I've shown proves all those institutions you trust in, America, my church, my government, my police force, my taxes are going to all these good institutions that are looking out for me. Oh, wait a minute. No, you're going to have to accommodate a lot. Your whole fucking worldview is disintegrated. You are disoriented from your entire world when you acknowledge the truth about plasma fire. That's why most people don't, and they disassociate. They split their mind as if that's happening in someone else's world. Me, I can just go to work every day and act as if it's not happening and not change a damn thing about me and my life. No, that plasma fire, that affects that guy's life, not me. You are all disassociating from the reality of what's happening around you because it doesn't fit into your known world. Because you have no way of processing the information. You have no precedent for this. There is no context within which you can explain it away and understand it. So you disassociate. You give it a schizophrenic response. You go about your daily life as if it's not even happening. Because you compartmentalized it so well, you don't even need to respond. That's happening to someone else in some other person's world. That's going to affect someone besides me. When there is no way around it. The effects of plasma fire are going to be felt by each and every person. There is no logic or reason or rationale that somehow could escape the consequences of plasma fire, as if you could just go to work logically, reasonably, and rationally and expect it to not have an effect on you. Yet that's what you do. So, the guy at work who says his boy thinks he's under some sort of mind control by the government, he hears voices, I could show him my implant. I've already shown one of the guys at work. And help him adjust to a place where he has the serenity of acceptance. I know I don't seem like I'm speaking with too much serenity right now. But I'm not seeking justice. In this little 5-minute speech, he told me his boy was got some proof and he's going to take it to the FBI. That's the last thing you want to do. I have the proof. I have 3 other people that have these microchip implants behind their ear. Last thing I'm going to go to do is to go to the FBI. Because I know these institutions would more likely lock me away in a rubber room and protect the program that I've been involuntarily administered into and am a part of. Even if you found an FBI agent that was willing to open and spearhead an investigation, the State Department would come in and shut him down in the name of national security. You end this investigation. So I could help his boy come to terms with, dude, you think you got some proof? Here, let me show you what proof is. And get him to the point of acceptance, like the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. 5 years ago, I was where he's at. My whole worldview was crumbling down. It was the end of the world as I knew it when I found this implant. Since then, I've had the courage to change the things I can, discover the wisdom to know the difference, and now I have the serenity of acceptance regarding those things I cannot change. And plasma fire shows me These institutions are all corrupt, and the people around us, it is not even worth seeking their validation of your life experience. They are the ones who are mentally ill. They are beyond repair. They are unsalvageable. They are irredeemable. Until then, Jim's boy is going to keep trying to get someone else to validate his world of experience. And the reason I know that they won't is because it dislodges them from their comfort zone if they are to acknowledge the reality you are showing to them. It's the end of the world as they know it. And they will cling to their comfort zone and the world as they know it in the face of any amount of reality that is shown to them, even something that threatens their very existence and the existence of every person around them, the existence of every person on the face of the planet. They will still turn a blind eye, go back to doing whatever they were doing 5 minutes ago in order to maintain their current self-image and worldview and their current paradigm and their comfort zone. And that is why they will have to have their world rocked so fucking hard that it's going to break most of them. Their hearts will fail them for fear, because they will need to have their paradigm, their cage rattled so hard that it stops them dead in their tracks. And that's going to take a lot, because they've proven that they'll just keep going through the motions of life, doing the same thing they were yesterday, whistling through the graveyard, while the world burns around them from the inside out. Trees burn from the inside out. Entire neighborhoods of houses burn to the ground, and the trees remain standing between them, and the news tells you it's a forest fire. Cars have their engine blocks melted to the fucking Secret Service 2 months ago. And the general public, I'm gonna keep doing what I always do. It's gonna take a lot to stop them dead in their tracks and show them the true nature of their existence and the degree to which they have been impenetrable, out of reach, and out of touch is proven by my 5 years of video. When, in the face of the reality that gets shoved down their throat and force-fed to them, they will be able to look at my 5 years of video and realize, holy shit, I was gone, and so was everyone else around me. We were so far gone. The Heber Creeper. I ought to take a ride on it one of these days. The other thing is, I'll walk this way so I can get away from the noise. Enjoy the ride. You're going to look back on these days with nostalgia. When you reminisce back on the good old days, remember leading up to the Great Revelation when a bunch of us had little pieces of the Revelation and we were all running around like chickens with our head cut off? Man, those were the good old days, weren't they? Yeah. Yep. After the Revelation, all the mystery is gone. All the normies are gone. There is no such thing as a normie anymore, because the normies got converted to truthers. And right now you live in a world where truther is a pejorative, a name that you call someone, a derogatory insult. Not for long. They are going to come to terms with the fact that they had lost their way, and they were so far off course, and they had been so far off course for so long that it took a lot to get them back on course, where they value truth once again. And without truth, what did Jesus say? I am the truth, which is the way to life. All other roads lead to death. Because when you're in denial of the truth, when there's a lion, a tiger, and a bear staring you right in the face, and you look the other direction and start whistling through the graveyard, you're not fit to survive. You're in such deep denial about truth that the only reason you're still alive is because something is keeping you alive. Otherwise, that lion, that tiger, that bear, and that plasma fire would have fucking taken you by now. And you're not fit to survive on your own unless you are in alignment with the truth and respond appropriately which everyone around us has proven that they are not in alignment with the truth or do not respond appropriately because they prioritize something else. Something else is more important to them than addressing that trillion-pound elephant in the room. And it's going to squash each and every one of them. Yet they still turn a blind eye and look some other way and focus their attention on something else that matters more to them. Why? Because they're comfort junkies. And once they're dislodged from their comfort zone with this massive revelation that's happening that I'm referring to as this thing that happens in the future as the capstone crescendo retrocausal catalyst, that just like 9/11 turned that project for a new American century from a hypothetical, theoretical, wet dream of the neocons into the actionable, practical protocol that was being enacted from that point forward, this crescendo event will turn my 5 years of work into the basis and the foundation, the blueprint for your new paradigm. And at that point, one reason people refuse to accept the truth is because the hassle-free zone and the comfort zone go hand in hand, and they want to remain right within both of them. When you see the truth and you're the only one that sees it and no one else sees it, that makes you the crazy guy. You're stepping outside the hassle-free zone, and we all got a hassle. You say, yeah, this guy's delusional, huh? He can see something no one else can see. That means he's crazy. You're no longer in the hassle-free zone. You're therefore no longer in your comfort zone. So people say, no, I can't see that. I can't see that because no one else can see it. So neither can I, because I don't want to be called crazy like you. When this happens, there is no more hassle-free zone. There is no more consensus reality. The only thing that everyone knows is that none of them knew anything. Every one of their preconceived ideas has been shown to be ineffective, non-applicable, irrelevant. What you believed yesterday does not matter the day after tomorrow when the reveal happens. All of your preconceived ideas can be thrown right the fuck out the window. It will be so proven that anyone who's going to die for what they believe in deserves what they're going to get when they are shown the degree to which you were enslaved by a master that kept you in the dark. And that's why this revelation process is such a touchy process. Because the people in the cult, they will defend Jim Jones, like I've told you not to do. Angels on the sideline again, wondering when this tug of war will end. Wondering why Father gave these humans free will, and now they're all confused. Don't these talking monkeys know that Eden has enough to go around? So, this is a very delicate extraction process, because you're going to lose a lot of the captives on the slave plantation. Because they are so mentally enslaved, they fight for their own enslavement. They're willing to die for what they believe in. So you have to free them mentally before going in physically for the extraction. The extraction is going to happen whether or not some of them fall to the wayside. Many of them will, most of them. But for the sake of those that will free their mind and the truth will set you free, they have contacted me. Is that harder to believe than the fact that the whole fucking world around you can burn from the inside out and none of your peers can see it? No. Prior to 5 years ago, the idea of a more advanced civilization contacting one of us to communicate to the others was something you could conceive of. It was a plot from a movie that probably has been made over and over. The idea that the world could burn from the inside all around you and no one notice it? That wasn't even believable enough to put into a movie. Yet that's what's happening all around us. So I'm going to try and bring this to a close. It's already been an hour and 10 minutes. There are forces at work, frantically working to keep you in the dark. who have kept you in the dark this whole time and are trying to maintain their control over you. And that's why they would execute something like Project Bluebeam, a fake alien invasion during the time of the real one, so that the general public thinks we're still in control and everything that they're seeing is just holograms and fakery, and that the men in black are still the highest power around here. Obviously, that's not the case when 5 Secret Service vehicles got plasma fired 2 months ago. At that time, when the great reveal happens that they know is coming, they've been working frantically to keep you in the dark. They've not been working toward God's plan on this consciousness farm, trying to cultivate higher levels of consciousness. They've been trying to suppress your consciousness and your awareness, misleading you about the nature of your reality and your existence and who you are. And they know that their time is short. And they know, you look at the last 15 out of 20 MB3 videos are showing you UFOs to an incrementally increasing degree of clarity and visibility. You look a couple, 2-3 years ago during that same month, and you'll see that those UFOs weren't in those MB3 videos. Those who've been keeping you enslaved and in the dark, holding a grip over your heart and mind by not telling you about the plasma fire, about the sun tunnel, about the airborne aircraft carrier, about the black dot craft, about the triangular craft. Instead, they're going to try and make you think it's all theirs. That's our technology. Yeah, that's a secret government project. That's not from not around here. That's ours. Oh, that plasma fire, that's us. Fucking dog. I can't stand it. Anyway, that is also why they would kick off Project Bluebeam, to mislead and misdirect you at this point when the forces that are on the perimeter breach the perimeter. They've got you all convinced that's all fakery and the men in black are still in control, and the general population would prefer to believe that. The slave master and the devil that you're used to, that you're familiar with, is more comfortable than knowing that there's a new sheriff in town and your previous master's not in control anymore. Most people, even though Project Bluebeam would therefore mean that all the world's governments are conspiring together, or at least your government is conspiring to fool you and to trick you, they would rather believe that than to know that there's a new authority in town. And when this happens and power is seized worldwide, communications are seized worldwide, all of their forces are neutralized. They are not capable of enforcing any laws or executing any operations. All of their police forces, all of their military forces are neutralized. All of their communications are seized in order to give the slaves a chance to escape. The oppressor or the master of the slave plantation will be held down. That is the point at which my videos come into play, and people have an opportunity to see what they've been missing for the last 5 years. Plasma fire alone, if force-fed into the social media platforms, would bring this whole world to a grinding halt overnight. But because of people's apathy and indifference and thinking they got more important things to pay attention to, in combination with the censorship and distractions, we're still where we're at. Like I said, it was inconceivable 5 years ago that your world could burn up from the inside out all around you and no one else notice. That's going to come to an end. Coming soon to a town near you. Don't believe the hype. Nice to know my kind will be on my side. I don't believe the hype. And you know you're a terrible sight, but you'll be just fine. Just don't believe the hype. People of the earth, can you hear me? Came a voice from the sky on that magical night. I'm missing a lyric. Something about setting fire to the sky as they landed. And they traveled through the world on a shimmery light. People of the earth stood waiting, watching as the ships came one by one. People of the earth, can you hear me? Came a voice from the sky on that magical night. In the colors of 1,000 sunsets, they traveled through the world on a shimmery light. The people of the earth stood waiting, waiting as the ships came one by one. Setting fire to the sky as they landed, they carried to the world the children of the sun tunnel. Children of the sun tunnel. All at once came a sound from the inside. Then a beam made of light hit the ground. Everyone felt the sound of their heartbeats. Every man, every woman, every child. They passed the limits of imagination through the door to the world of another time. And on the journey of 1,000 lifetimes, with the children of the sun, they started to climb. Through the door, they passed the limits of imagination, through the door to the world of another time. That is essentially a quantum leap in technological advancement to a Type 1 civilization. That is the opportunity that we have lying before us. It is self-evident to me that there is a social technology, because we have all been so focused on material wealth and technological development and advancements that we have abandoned social technology. And people who have focused upon sociology and human growth and development have something to offer a Type 1 civilization that people who have not do not. Because in that Type 1 civilization, all material wealth is provided for. The currency of exchange, the commodity of value, and the stock in trade is happiness. A greater amount of happiness for the most amount of people, and that can only be achieved through higher development of consciousness. In the current dog eat dog, killer be killed, survival of the fittest, rugged individualism, capitalism that we live in, the only thing anyone is interested in or has dedicated any of their life to is more comfort and more convenience as can be provided by material wealth, aka money. We do it for the same reason. To create the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people, you need a strong economy, and the more money, the happier you are, right? Up to a certain point. We are going beyond that point where technology provides all of the material wealth. All of the, and your daily living can be taken for granted. What would be your motivation to get up in the morning and do anything with your life? If your roof over your head that we all go to work for every day was provided and taken for granted because it is granted to you, along with your daily bread, what would be your motivation and your incentive to get up and go do something to make the world a better place? Well, those who have already demonstrated a will to do so in a world that not only does not reward that type of behavior, but actually penalizes and punishes people who engage in that kind of behavior. Morals and ethics and compassion are not incorporated into any business model. You ask any business owner operator, Where do you incorporate morals and ethics and compassion into your decision making for your business? They will tell you nowhere. They will proudly say what a good businessman I am because I am so stone cold about my decision making. And then they say things like, it's not personal, it's just business. As if you live two lives here on this planet. There's your work life and then your personal life. That's also why a lot of people understand they don't want to hire family and friends, because then you will have to treat that family member or that friend decently while at work, not just like another worker. And then the other workers will get pissed off because that guy gets favoritism. The root word of the word nepotism is the same root word as the word nephew. You know who I'm talking to if you happen to watch this video. People who have demonstrated that they will go above and beyond in serving something greater than themselves, not just pursuit of their own personal comfort and convenience, but do what they can to make the world a better place, do for others what they cannot do for themselves, to seek the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people, are invited to join a Type 1 civilization. We currently participate in an economy that does the opposite of creating the greatest amount of wealth for the most amount of people. It concentrates the wealth into a smaller and smaller number of people. The bottom of the pyramid, where there is poverty, gets bigger and bigger every day, and the top of the pyramid, where there is wealth and comfort and convenience, gets smaller and smaller every day. And eventually, if allowed to progress until its ultimate end, there would be one person in control of all the money and everyone else. You know, the saying that the golden rule, whoever has all the gold makes all the rules. If allowed to progress unrestrained, and that is why we have laws that keep us from devouring ourselves as quickly as we would in a dog-eat-dog, killer-be-killed economy. There are certain things that are outlawed because we want to make it a slow burn. Essentially, bringing this lifestyle to an end will be a mercy killing, because these people are engaged in a lifestyle that is unsustainable. You cannot be an island of prosperity within a sea of despair forever. Eventually, that island of prosperity, comfort and convenience, the rising tide of the despair all around you in that capitalist system where the wealth is funneled to the top of the pyramid into the hands of fewer and fewer people, and greater numbers of people each year experience poverty because they are below that comfort line, that poverty line. Eventually it will lead to a world that's not worth living in, won't it? Well, people that haven't just said, well, don't hate the player, hate the game. I got to go out there and engage in this same cutthroat way of life because that's what everyone else does. And instead, on principle and ideal, said, no, I will not engage in that way of life. I will do what I can to make the world a better place. Even if no one else is engaging in this way of life, I will do it alone, by myself, knowing that there will be no return on my investment because no one else is participating in this way of life, in this culture. That's why people invest in a stock or in a currency, because they see that everyone else who trades this currency, who accepts this currency, has the comforts and convenience provided by the US dollar. In a pyramid scheme or any other stock investment, they see that the other people who have invested in this stock are getting wealthy, so I will too. They are benefiting, so I will also invest. When you grow up in a Type 1 civilization where everyone has their daily bread given to them and roof over their head is provided, and you see that the way of life people engage in here is benefiting them, you naturally contribute to such a way of life where people are devoted to discovering new ways to make the world a better place, to create a greater amount of happiness for the most amount of people. And you know what you would do? you would cultivate consciousness on consciousness farms and extract the best of to create the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people. And those consciousness farms would promote and perpetuate and encourage the worst of human behavior. And those who refuse to participate, who do so of their own free will, not because there will be a personal reward or because they will be punished by God if they don't, but based on principles, are the kind of people that will benefit your society. And I've told you that we got recruiters, just like NBA recruiters, talent scouts, that go around to the college basketball teams looking to recruit individuals that show qualities and characteristics that we want on our team. Here on the Consciousness Farm, there's recruiters looking for a few good men that would contribute qualities and characteristics toward their petri dish in their Consciousness Farm, who demonstrate the qualities and characteristics of virtue that are valuable, that contribute to a society, producing a greater amount of happiness for the most amount of people. There aren't many people around here that demonstrate or exhibit those qualities of character. That's why they saw plasma fire and said, well, how does it benefit me? You could participate in the discovery and the disclosure of an alien life form that's all around us. But you say, how does it benefit me? How is that going to serve me? Where will my comfort and convenience be improved or increased if I participate in the discovery and the disclosure of this new alien life form that has examples of its existence all around us? Congratulations, you've sealed your fate. If you're lucky, you might have another opportunity to demonstrate that you have qualities of character that would make a world worth living in, because you are a person worth living with. Otherwise, you've demonstrated the exact opposite and deserve to be left behind. And if the offer is shunned, then you might as well be walking on the sun. Most everyone here, I have very little compassion left for them. Not because my compassion level has decreased, but because their demonstration of what they are has changed my whole perception of what these beings around me are. If I'm a human being, they're not human. If they're human beings, I'm not human. And the tie that binds is based on common beliefs, understandings, experience, priorities, principles, and standards of behavior. You don't have as much compassion for a dog or a pig or a bird as you do another person, do you? No. And I don't have as much compassion for these things around me that call themselves humans as I would for others who are like myself, who demonstrate similar qualities of character, ideals, principles, morals, ethics, priorities, standards of behavior. These things around me that call themselves humans, they're nothing like me. My level of compassion has not decreased. I now have the wisdom to know the difference between what I can change and what I cannot, because I've had the courage to change the things I can, and in applying myself the way I have, they have revealed themselves for what they are. Unworthy of a consciousness, of a society, because they do not make the world a better place by being a person that is worth living with. They do not make a world that is worth living in. I, me, my, how does it serve me? Cutthroat, dog eat dog, kill or be killed. They live a lifestyle that is unsustainable for any society. It is societally destructive. They are on their way to self-destruction. To quicken the process would be an act of mercy. They are already on a path of self-destruction, unsustainable path of self-destruction that's very obvious. It's not hard to see that. They just choose not to because it's uncomfortable. Okay, I've launched into a whole new video. It's now been like an hour and a half. So I'm just gonna bring this to an end. Maintain my direction and momentum and wait for that catalyzing crescendo event that creates a retrocausal effect, turning my past 5 years into pure gold. After the gold rush, you know what I'm saying? Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in armor calling, saying something about a queen. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming, and the archers split the tree. There was a fanfare blowing to the sun, floating on the breeze. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. Did you hear that? There was a fanfare blowing to the sun. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming. I was lying in a burned out basement with a full moon in my eye. I was hoping for a replacement when the sun burst through the sky. There was a band playing in my head, and I felt like getting high. I was thinking about something Jeff Snyder once said. I was hoping it was a lie. Thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie. It's the bridge right now of the music. Wait for it. Wait for it. Still waiting. It's worth it. It will be. Well, I dreamed I saw the silver spaceships flying in the yellow haze of the sun. There were children crying and colors flying all around the chosen ones. All in a dream, all in a dream. The loading had begun. Flying Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home in the sun. Flying Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home